Hi, and welcome to the Slade Ham Experiment. I am Slade Ham. This is my experiment. And in this episode, I get a little in the weeds about how stand-up comedy gets made. So if it's not your thing, I totally understand. But if you're listening around the 22-minute mark, you'll hear me flub a joke that I'm kind of creating on the fly. So when I say his web, just know that I mean the web. It'll all make sense when you get there. Welcome to the experiment. I believe I've dilly-dallied enough. If that's a verb, I'm using it. Dilly-dally. I don't know. I'm dilly-dallying my way up to the Great White North this weekend. I will be up there for 2 straight weeks. So if you're a fan of the show and you happen to live north of the U.S.-Canada border, or even in New York, that area, you're free to come on up. I'm going to be in Ontario. So make your way to Toronto. I'll be there. I wrote this down this time, the 18th through the 23rd. Very simple. Tuesday through Sunday, my favorite comedy city in the world, Toronto. So come on out. And then Ottawa the following week. I'm gonna dilly-dally for a day, and then I'm gonna venture on over to your fine nation's capital. And we'll see if the leaves are still changing colors. The Arboretum around Dow's Lake. I think it's Dominion Arboretum. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world when the leaves are changing color. And if I'm not mistaken, there's about a 2-week period specifically in Ottawa, in that part of Ontario, where, I guess that's Western Ontario? Eastern Ontario? What is it? It's up against the Quebec border. Anyway, that particular place, it's like the middle 2 weeks of October, and I don't think the week that I'm going to be there, it's going to be that great. I'm going to be in Toronto. We'll see what I can find. The 25th through the 30th there in Ottawa. So come see me. And also, if you guys are watching, this is going to sound so goddamn hypocritical, but please subscribe. And I'm going to tell you why it sounds hypocritical in a minute. Probably right now. But let me tell you why it's important first. Because I don't know how any of this stuff works, but I know that if no one watches it, nothing happens. That doesn't matter. Nothing happens if no one watches it. I don't know why I make a big deal about it. So I don't care if you sub. How's that? I'm in this weird Pavlovian, they ding a bell, and then I got to ask you to make a bell ding when I put something. It's stupid. I'm sorry I even said it. Because here's why I really do feel hypocritical saying those sorts of things when I am unsubscribing and deleting and clearing space in my life digitally. I am taking everything off my phone. I don't even know where my phone is right now. That's what my relationship with my phone is right now. I have deleted all the dating apps, all the social media apps, any stock market apps, any crypto apps, games that have incentives, all of it. You know what I play on my phone? Wordle. I got to go to the New York Times site. I play the game. I'm done. I send the results to my mom and my brother and his wife, and we see who's dumber than the other that day, and we go about our business, and it doesn't ask me for jack shit, and I love it. But you know what's not going to be on my phone anymore? Angry Birds. I thought that was done. I thought that was like 2008. That was like one of the first games I ever played in my entire life, making those, when they first figured out physics games. I was so on board. And I 3-starred. I'm obsessive compulsive when it comes to these sorts of things. And this is probably why I know I have to get them off of my phone, and I have to cleanse my life of these addictive technologies. I know I have to do that. Because when I played Angry Birds, I don't know how many levels there were of the original Angry Birds, but I know that I didn't just beat them all. I had to 3-star them all. I had to obsessively go through and beat them perfectly, or somehow my brain wouldn't let me let go of it. And I don't know why. The reality, I mean, it's just a game. It's a if this, then that. You pull back on the little bird. All the code tells it what you did. It tells you how the physics would react, and it responds. It's nothing special. It's just pressing buttons in a certain order to get the reward. I get all the reward chemical stuff, right? But this is when I look at all the places that stuff permeates my life, right? I caught myself the other day. I got mad about my credit score, which I haven't used for a single thing in, I think, my whole life. That's the truth. I have a credit score that is basically immaculate, right? I think it's like a 780. It's like right on the 780 something. It's high. But it's high because I haven't fucked anything up. All I've managed to do is not ruin it. I've had one credit card my whole life. That's it. I use it for business stuff up until I incorporated. Now I got to get a different card. But that's the only credit I have. So why when my credit score dropped 6 points for no reason whatsoever? I have not done anything. Even when I bought my car, I just paid for it because I tried to get a loan and a whole bunch of stuff with the bank. My credit score was fine. I just went, fuck it. Here, just take the money. So this thing I have, this number that we all think means something, I see mine drop by 6 points, this thing that I have never used in my whole stupid existence. Yet I think it means something. So when it drops, I'm all freaking out. What do I know? I gotta figure out how to get it back up. Do I need to spend some money on my credit card so that it shows use and then they see that I'm still maintaining my credit? Do I need to not pay it off so frequently? Is that the thing? Do I need to let them charge me interest so I can show that I can maintain a balance, but a balance between or above a certain... Oh. What is the... I want to know what the root emotion is that this is triggering in me. These dings and these bells and the social media notifications and the comment dings and the you got retweeted ding and you Facebook ding, share ding, you're real this ding. I want to know what bell that's ringing in my own stupid head. And that's, I think, what I'm trying to figure out, right? How to turn off. This is my own struggle. This is me trying to figure all this shit out. Here's what goes through my head. I figure if I got to do it in stages, right? I got to turn off all the notifications so there is some quiet. And then once there is some quiet, I can retrain myself back the way I want to be into enjoying the process and not the outcome, right? I've preached this. It's on you go find episodes. But that's what you're after, right? Who cares about the ding? You want your video has been uploaded. Then you can let go, right? I did it. It's out there. Basically, what I was kind of bitching about a minute ago, it's kind of what I've been doing with this channel, all with a total ulterior motive in mind. And I'll explain all that on later episodes. But currently, the numbers really don't matter to me, right? I say subscribe because I have to say subscribe. That's why I cut myself off. The numbers really don't matter. It's what's important is that every week I make myself go through the process of putting together a show, right? That there is some cohesive thought process that you get to watch. It's not just rambling. If I start something, I will finish the thought, and it will likely overlap with another thought. And by the time we get to the end, hopefully, I will have closed the circuit and at least told a story or two that was moderately entertaining. And along the way, maybe you picked up something you didn't know. That's the goal every week, right? Especially when I'm working on a show that I'm not out touring on. So that's what I'm trying to get back to, the caring about, and that's what I think I am right now. Just the creation aspect and not the outcome. And this is what's fascinating to me is that we know this as children. It's how we play as kids. I remember I've talked a lot on stage about my childhood, and I think I've written about it a lot. But my mom raised 4 boys as a single parent on a school teacher's salary. I've said that a lot. And it's mind-blowingly impressive to me because I couldn't raise me right now on that salary. So needless to say, on Saturdays and on weekends, we spent an obnoxious amount of time outside. And I remember play, like the actual verb. And I can remember the things it encompassed. We had games that we invented like soccer baseball, which is exactly what it sounds like, soccer ball instead of a baseball, but you still hit it with the same bat. And if it went over the Puerto Rican neighbor's house across the street, you had to contend with their father, who was an ex-boxer from Puerto. It was all, those games. We used to play war with fake guns. We'd jump out and yell, bang, I shot you. Yeah, yeah. I've talked about the game Kick Wesley. All those were different games. The fun ones, the stuff I really miss. We used to build stuff. We used to make like castles and things for our little He-Men to fight in and the G.I. Joes to fight in. And you would dam up a little fake river in the ditch and then build a little fort around it. And nobody cared what happened. All that stuff washed away. Nobody saw it. It was you. You and your dumb little G.I. Joe men. And then when you were done, you went inside and it rained or the dogs ran through the ditch, something, your little fort got knocked over, and who cared, because the next day you were just going to rebuild it. When you first started drawing stuff as a kid, what are you coloring? I don't know, just this. You just wiggling your arm with a marker or a crayon or a pencil or something in it, and you're realizing that when you wiggle your arm, it leaves color behind. It's not till they start making you care about what it looks like that it starts messing it up. That's just magic at some point. Then you go put magic all over the wall of the living room, and your parents get mad. What did you do? You're like, oh, shit, okay, sorry. We file that away, and you learn one place that is not cool to do this new magic thing you learned. A new rule, a new limitation on how you can play. I'm not saying it's wrong. That wall costs money. Some people paint them obnoxiously expensive colors. I get it. How'd you get paisley? Yeah, all right. But every time you tell a kid that, not to color outside the lines, what are you drawing? I'm drawing a lizard, Mom. That doesn't look like a lizard. Why don't you look at the picture of a lizard and make it look like a lizard? Every time you tell a kid that, they lose a little bit. And then what happens? The best pictures, that's the best thing. That's the only thing you really had to try for as a kid, right? If you drew really good pictures, they would make it to the fridge. That was the gallery that made it to the fridge, especially if you have 4 brothers. I didn't have 4 brothers. I had 3 brothers. But if there were 4 boys, fridge space was a commodity. You know what I mean? You already had a calendar or something, because this is the 80s, and that was the only way to tell where you were in existence was by actual physical paper calendars. So you had to have one of those on the fridge. So you had to put tack holes in the kitchen wall because it was a rental. So what else is there? Like a sticky note reminder. Mom's got to remember stuff. So there was the rest of that space. That's what we're competing for. And that's where I think it all goes south. Because the kid's all trying to make this thing to go on the fridge. And he forgets that the fun part is making all the crazy color come out of your hands and stay there. Drawing your dumb fire truck. If I had a kid, I don't have kids, but I do this. I'm going to do this with my nieces, my nephew for sure. I think when they finish drawing something, I'm just going to throw it away right in front of them. But I'm going to congratulate them the whole time. We're going to take a picture every day they do a little piece of it. We're going to hang that on the fridge so that the kid falls in love with doing the thing and not the thing at the end. That's why I think the best artists just sell all their stuff. Whatever, take it. I don't care. I'm going to make more stuff. Plus, the act of it will never break your heart. I'll get off the subject. Results will break your heart. Finishing it will never break your heart. And the more stuff you finish, the better you're going to get. And that's just core math. and there's nothing else to say about it. All you're trying to cultivate, I said I'd shut up, almost shut up. All you're trying to cultivate is creativity, right? And creativity, if you're going to be creative, you got to learn to think creatively. And I was thinking about that. I was on a walk earlier, right? I've been trying to design. I have these sitting right over here. We're doing thank you cards for the Andy Huggins special. And I didn't want to just get some dumb Hallmark, thank you for, donating or being a participant or believing in Andy or whatever. And then just sign a bunch of them and send them off. And I was trying to think of something that was something that was artistically as layered as a reward as stand-up comedy is as an art form, right? Because stand-up comedy is not just, it looks like it's the performance, right? That's what you capture, that's what you see. But that's not really what stand-up, it's part of it. It's a piece of stand-up comedy, but also a big piece of it is writing and creating the set in the first place and then being able to imagine that off stage and then take it on stage and work it out up there into a finished product. So you have these two layers of stand-up comedy, especially with the Andy thing and his dedication to writing. You have the writing process and the creation process there, and then you have the performance and creation process there. So when I wanted to do these cards, and I was like, well, what's like a layered way to do that? And I just gone to this MC Escher exhibit at the beginning of September when it left Houston. It's not here anymore. And I didn't realize how much of his work was like wood block carving. And then I remembered thinking back to making these wood blocks as a kid. And that's the, like where you get the linoleum block and then you chisel it out and then you put black ink on it and you print it. And I remember having done this in like high school. And I remember this kid, I don't remember what I printed. I couldn't tell you in a million years what I carved and printed. But I remember this kid, Brian. And Brian was like, I got to look him up. Because you know how you remember people as like a thing, like especially childhood memories. People are like archetypes. You just remember a couple of things about them. They're caricatures. Brian is like a kid barbarian. He used to, and I say that because he was like super big old built dude, like just big. He had a mullet, glorious Texas mullet with bangs up front, and he would wear like sleeveless shirts. He looked like Sylvester Stallone's kid. How to explain it? But like 80s barbarian style. He used to draw a lot of Conan stuff. Dudes with helmets with horns. That's what I remember him making, this wood block of this medieval Frank Frazetta-esque helmet. Had these big goat horns coming off of it. He had chiseled out that block and then printed it. Anyway, that's what was in my head when I was trying. So that's what I put together for the Andy thing. And I realized that it made me respect what MC Escher did, because I looked at those wood blocks. You just stand there, oh yeah, cool. He chiseled out of wood, and then he printed, he pressed it on some stuff, and then he moved about his life. But when you get into multiple color, like putting my hands on this stuff and actually doing it makes you really respect the masters at that, right? And that's why I think stand-up comedy is always so funny. That's why I think it's cool to appreciate the multiple layers to its creation process, because it's difficult. So all right, let me rewind. If you look at the writing process of stand-up, right? Most people think, and we'll go through a quick exercise, but most people think that we're just saying the funny stuff that happens in our life. And that's fair. There's some comics who do that. I want to knock them. A body language expert would probably say that I took that sip of water in an uncomfortable moment before I said something bad about people who just go on stage and say the funny stuff that happens in their lives. But some comics actually have a writing process. And Andy Huggins is such a good example because he's a master craftsman when it comes to joke writing. He believes in a setup and a punch and efficiency of words and getting that to the perfect place. I go through a slightly different process, but it's all at its core this, right? We are, as stand-up comedians, taking, and I've said this elsewhere, we're taking the things that have nothing in common, and we're showing you how they're the same. And then we're taking the things that are the same, and we're showing you how they're different. That's really it. And then you, in that moment of realization, that aha, that's the ta-da moment. Okay? That's what comedy is. You laugh in that moment because the tension has been broken. At least moderately on the core, that's kind of what's happening. So for a joke to come together, we got to find two things that don't really have that we're going to show you how they overlap, right? And that's why you got to what else these things to death. That's what we call it. What else it to death, right? I'm walking down, when I go on walks in my neighborhood, I always do. I just look at random stuff and try to write jokes about them. But the process of doing it, right? You're walking, you see a spider, and you go, oh, there's a spider. We'll write a spider joke. And think of them as dad jokes if you're just trying to write a very basic joke, right? So you start going, what are all the spider things? Well, spiders have legs. Spiders, there's spider eyes. There's spider bites. They have webs. You start going through all of these spider things, silk and all of those things. You go, okay, well, what about the web? Now you start looking at, and I'll explain what's actually happening here in a moment. You start looking at all the things about, if we're going to take the spider web, what are all the things about a web that we can talk about? And how can we explore that? And what are the different usages of the word web? Maybe that's where we're going to go, right? There's the spider web, but there's also the World Wide Web. Now we have double entendre. We have a word that's being used in two different ways at the same time. So how do we play with that, right? What can make the spider build a web or stay on a web, right? Why did the spider I was say, why did the spider get in trouble? It's too basic. It's too generic. Why was the spider afraid of everything? Because he spent too much time on his web. All right, we're not going to get to a good joke, but that's a joke. That's a functional joke, right? And that's all you're doing. There is this process of convergent and divergent thinking, and I don't know if I'll be able to explain them right. I know you could attribute it to J.P. Guilford, I think 1956. But convergent thinking, you can think of as trying to solve a problem that's got one solution. You're converging on a solution. It's right in the name. Divergent thinking is word vomit. It's all the things you can think of that have anything to do, blah, 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 webs and legs and eyes. It doesn't matter how stupid something is. The big mechanical one from Wild Wild West. Whatever. Doesn't matter how dumb an idea is, you just get it out. And that's what you're trying to train your brain to do in any creative endeavor. So whatever it is you're working on, even if you're not working on anything, you just want to think better as a person, I think, you can start to build these muscles. And the divergent thinking allows you to get a lot of stuff on paper. And the convergent thinking allows you to winnow that down to something usable. And I'm always fascinated by how simple it really is when you just look at it that way, right? No matter what you're trying to solve, you spit out a bunch of solutions. I guess first you got to converge on the thing you're trying to solve. Then once you have that problem figured out, you spit out a bunch of ridiculous solutions. Then you look down at the ones of those and go, okay, what is real here? What out of all the 100 dumb things I came up with, what are the 3 usable ones? Because I did. And then let's go back in and converge that a little bit more. I used that verb wrong. But there's so much. That's all it really is. That's how simple. And there's all this technology out there now. And there's software programs and apps and workbooks and notebooks and textbooks and things you got to do every morning and these sheets and the this and the that and the advice and the how and the what and the why. And it's like, why do you need all this stuff to poke and prod you if you really like doing this thing you say you like to do? Just do it. Fall in love with doing it. And then trust that somewhere down the line, it's going to pay off. I'm saying this from somewhere on the line currently. You don't need anything. You need a Word document and some peace and quiet. That's what you need. You need uninterrupted time to sit with these thoughts and get a bunch of shit out and then figure out where the good stuff is. And there's no other way to do it than to just spend time doing it. So if your loved ones, if you happen to live in a house or a home or under a bridge with a bunch of people, I don't know where you're at, wherever it is you live, if the people who say they love you won't give you the uninterrupted time to explore these things you want to explore, then they don't really love you. And you should leave them in the dark of night like a ghost. Ooh. What was that? That's your dad leaving you. You got to let people be creative. There's a shortage of just paint over the kids' stuff on the wall. You know what I mean? Teach them the impermanence of what they made. Don't discourage them from doing it. The world needs more wall drawers. All right, that's probably it. I'm running out of time. Happy McDonald's to all of you. A parting thought I should have opened with. I don't know why it's stuck in my head. It's something we said when we were overseas. Me and my buddy Paul and my buddy Chase. Who else was on that tour? Sam, Trey, somebody, JR. Every time we'd go through, Chase just kept saying it. He would just go, Happy McDonald's, because he said that when you're overseas, just saying things in English sometimes made people happy. If you said something in English and smiled, they would just smile back at you and know that you were a dumb American. So every time we'd go through security at the airports, Chase would go, Happy McDonald's. And what was amazing was the amount of people who said Happy McDonald's back. So pure. Happy McDonald's. They didn't know. Maybe it was a religious holiday. Maybe it's something they just didn't understand. Who knows? They were just accepting of it. And sit around going, you can't say Happy Holidays, it's Merry Christmas, or whatever else. They just went, Happy McDonald's? Hey, Happy McDonald's to you too, buddy. And a double quarter pounder on your way out. It was the most pure thing in the world, and I love telling people Happy McDonald's now because you'd be amazed. You should do this. You will be staggered at how many people say it back. It's in every language. It's not just over there. It just because, you know what I mean? It's the enjoy your meal. You too. You're my waiter. That thing. It's a Brian Regan joke. It's all right. I'm rambling at this point. Now I should go. My vow was that I'd close every circuit and finish all the stories, and I think I did. Brian is probably in jail somewhere. My barbarian friend from high school who was really into Frank Frazetta and Conan. And violent. I remember in the ninth grade distinctly that's why I think he was a barbarian. Distinctly in the ninth grade, I remember him getting in a fight in the cafeteria with like 15 people. Now, that's my child brain. It might have been 9. It might have been 3. It might have been one guy who just looked like a lot of people. But Brian picked up, they were these brown trays. They were like plastic wood. I can't just, you know what they are. And I just remember him cracking this guy in the back of the head. You could hear the ting. It was like, I don't know, almost like a metally plastic. High pitched, but I heard the ting. And then that guy just, man, Brian, definitely in jail. I hope you can have a happy McDonald's in jail, Brian. It's been a long time, buddy. Thanks for the inspiration and the reminder. If you're on the Andy Huggins Kickstarter for a signed thank you card, you're getting some cool stuff coming very soon. Come see me in Toronto and Ottawa. It's happening the 18th through the 30th. Then it stops somewhere in there for a day. But absolutecomedy.ca if you want to come visit me. And thank you guys for hanging out. Happy McDonald's to you.